Human embryonic process and fetal development. The process of prenatal development occurs in three main stages. The first 2 weeks after conception are known as the germinal stage. The third through the 8th week is known as the embryonic period, and the time from the 9th week until birth is known as the fetal period. Germinal stage. The germinal stage begins at conception, when the sperm and egg cell unite in one of the two fallopian tubes. The fertilized egg is called a zygote. Just a few hours after conception, the single cell called zygote begins making a journey down the fallopian tube to the uterus. Cell division begins approximately 24 to 36 hours after conception, through the process of mitosis. The zygote first divides into 2 cells, then into 4, 8, 16, and so on. A significant number of zygotes never progress past this early part of cell division, with as many as half of all zygotes surviving less than 2 weeks. Once the 8th cell point has been reached, the cells begin to differentiate and take on certain characteristics that will determine the type of cells they will eventually become. As the cells multiply, they will also separate into two distinctive masses. The outer cells will eventually become the placenta, while the inner cells form the embryo. Cell division continues at a rapid rate during the approximately week-long journey from fallopian tube to uterus wall. The cells develop into what is known as blastocyst. The blastocyst is made up of 3 layers, each of which develops into different structures in the body: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Finally, the blastocyst arrives at the uterus and attaches to the uterine wall, a process known as implantation. Implantation occurs when the cells nestle into the uterine lining and rupture tiny blood vessels. The connective web of blood vessels and membranes that form between them will provide nourishment for the developing being for the next 9 months. Implantation is not always an automatic and surefire process. Embryonic stage. At this point, the mass of cells is now known as an embryo. The beginning of the 3rd week after conception marks the start of the embryonic period, a time when the mass of cells become distinct as a human. The embryonic stage plays an important role in the development of the brain. Approximately 4 weeks after conception, the neural tube forms. This tube will later develop into the central nervous system, including the spinal cord and brain. The neural tube begins to form along with an area known as the neural plate. The earliest signs of development of the neural tube are the emergence of 2 ridges that form along each side of the neural plate. Over the next few days, more ridges form and fold inward until hollow tube is formed. Once this tube is fully formed, cells begin to form near the center. The tube begins to close and brain vesicles form. These vesicles will eventually develop into the parts of the brain, including the structures of the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Around the 4th week, the head begins to form, quickly followed by the eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. The blood vessel that will become the heart start to pulse. During the 5th week, buds that will form the arms and legs appear. By the 8th week of development, the embryo has all of the basic organs and parts, except of those sex organs. At this point, the embryo weighs just 1 gram and is about 1 inch in length. By the end of the embryonic period, the basic structures of the brain and central nervous system have been established. At this point, the basic structure of the peripheral nervous system is also defined. As neurons form, they migrate to different areas of the brain. Once they have reached the correct location, they begin to form connections with other neural cells, establishing rudimentary neural networks. Fetal stage. Once cell differentiation is mostly complete, the embryo enters the next stage and becomes known as a fetus. The fetal period of prenatal development marks the more important changes in the brain. This period of development begins during the 9th week and lasts until birth. This stage is marked by amazing change and growth. The early body systems and structures established in the embryonic stage continue to develop. The heartbeat grows stronger and other body systems become further developed. The fetus continues to develop, put on weight, and prepare for life outside the womb.